Hello and welcome to the show. Now, the hunt for a property bargain can be as much fun as the actual auction itself. Well, almost.
You know what? When the hammer goes down and that property you've wanted for ages is finally yours, it feels really good. The beauty of buying at auction is that it can just take a few minutes.
The great thing about an auction is it's easy to attend and it's easy to bid. All you need to do is know your budget, stick to your guns, and hope that the hammer falls on your final bid.
Yeah, let's see what was purchased on today's show.
In Kent, we step back in time with Lucy. But has this lot got a future?
You might struggle to actually do anything with it.
Whereas Tommy needs to step carefully in a Nottinghamshire house.
Look at that floor, completely gone.
And in London, I step down into a lower ground floor flat that appears to have it all.
Dark and, yes, dingy and, yes, damp.
All these properties have been sold at auction, and we'll find out who bought them and what they paid for them when they went under the hammer.
Are you all done? Sold.
A trip back in time now to 2014, when Lucy found herself in Kent, right in the heart of the medieval town of Sevenoaks, in an area that's known as the Shambles.
The property I'm here to see, it's a lovely period property, and it used to be an old butcher shop. There's 2 floors of storage space above and a basement below, and all for the guide price of £260,000 to £270,000. So will this place be a prime cut or a load of old tripe? We'll find out. So inside, well, you've still got the old serving counters where you'd buy your Sunday joint. It's very narrow in here. It's tired and definitely in need of some work. But you can feel the history in here. In fact, one of the walls allegedly formed part of the old Sevenoaks jail. So not surprisingly, this building is Grade 2 listed. And on top of that, well, it's in a conservation area too. There's just one thing. You can still smell some of the old meat.
But Lucy's not one to be grossed out by a bad smell, oh no. Not when there are 3 more floors of interesting property to explore.
Now, the only way to get upstairs is by climbing up this stepladder. Boy, I do some crazy things on this show. Excuse me. Up, 2, oh, nearly up, 2. Gosh, that is certainly no easy climb, let me tell you. Good job I didn't have a mini skirt on.
And there's no dressing up that there's a lot of work to be done here.
So upstairs on the first floor, there are 2 rooms here and here, and you've got a loo at the back. Now, this and the floor above were used as storage for the shop, and the obvious option here would be to convert these upper floors into a flat. But remember, this is Grade 2 listed, so getting planning permission for change of use, well, it may be tricky. And you'll also need to sort out separate access, because at the moment, you have to go through the shop and up that stepladder to get here. Creating a front door and stairs from the front of the building here, well, it might not be allowed, as it will change the character of this historic frontage. So, an alternative might need to be to erect a staircase and an access at the back of the building. But again, the planners might not allow that. So you're going to have all this spare space up here, and you might struggle to actually do anything with it.
Up yet another stepladder style set of stairs is the second floor. Head height is quite restricted up here, as we are up in the eaves, so it would be great to install a dormer if you can get permission to alter the existing roofline. And 2 floors below, we've got the basement, where most of the space is taken up by a walk-in freezer. In here, the smell only gets worse. Phew! So, to sum up, apart from the pond, there's lots of potential here, lots of period charm, but also lots of possible problems with getting planning permission. What does a local estate agent think of this former butcher's shop?
My first impressions of this property is that it appears much larger from the outside, and it's very attractive from the outside. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to have any redeeming features inside. So it's really its location that's going to sell this property to either a tenant or a purchaser.
OK then, but what's best to do with this building?
If I owned this property, I would do my very best to get as much residential accommodation on the first and second floor, and I would make sure that the ground floor shop had as much usable space as possible, including the basement stroke cellar, and at the same time making sure that the first floor accommodation has its own separate access from the street. And I think that way you'd be guaranteed the maximum income.
So, what potential values are we talking here?
I think if the property were to be sold and you had the requisite permission to trade as a retail unit on the ground floor and you've got a 1/2 2-bedroom flat above, I think it's probably worth somewhere between £300,000 and £325,000.
And if you kept both the shop and the flat to let them?
I think the shop, plus you've got a very usable basement stroke cellar, I think you could probably get something between £12,000 and £15,000 per annum in income from the shop. If it were a 2-bedroom flat, I suspect you could probably achieve somewhere in the region of £750 per calendar month. Maybe a 1-bedroom would be slightly cheaper, maybe £650 to £700 per calendar month.
Well, this is a lovely period property, but that comes with its own problems. The Grade 2 listing may seriously hamper any plans for converting the upstairs to living accommodation. So, who was willing to take the risk with this one? Let's see who bid for this at auction.
We move on to lot 86, which is the vacant town centre retail premises with potential. Accommodation arranged over the ground, first, second and basement levels. 250,000 anywhere? Or 240? 240, 240 I have, thank you. At £240,000 I'm bid, at 242 and 245. The bid's in front of you. 245, 245 and 248. 248 and 250. 250 is bid, 252. 252 and 254, and 4 is bid, 256. 256, 258, 258 and 260. 260, 262. No, at £260,000, gentlemen, halfway down. At £260,000 I have. Then if there's no further bids, I shall sell. Sold at £260,000. Thank you very much indeed.
The final bid of £260,000 was made by local man Ian. The butcher's shop is actually Ian's first ever property purchase at auction, despite the fact that he's been developing as a sideline since the 1970s. Lucy met Ian back at the butcher's to find out more.
Ian, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So what have you gone and done?
Well, I don't know.
Now, this property is not for the faint-hearted. So why do you want to buy it, and how much research did you do prior to auction?
Not an awful lot. I just saw it. I mean, I've known Sevenoaks all my life. I've got a few properties around, and so this is just another little challenge for me and my daughter.
So you like a little challenge, do you, Ian?
Yes, I do.
It's all about the challenge. Tell me what your background is.
I owned a garage, ran a garage, and I bought it in '75. And then I retired from that 14 years ago. I bought property rather than put money in pension funds, so I could actually, enjoy myself. And I play golf 6 days a week.
What? So you just have 1 day off golf?
Yes, 6 days a week, and I thoroughly enjoy it.
But when Ian is not on the golf course, he's still buying and developing property. In fact, he owns about 25 properties in all, from flats to a pub and a garage, all of which he rents out.
So now you've gone and bought this old butcher's that was previously a jail.
Yes.
That's in a conservation area.
Yeah.
In the heart of the high street.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do with it?
Well, make it a nice flat upstairs, which I'd like to do, which I think we should get away with it, but we'll just see if the council let us, and then let the shop out.
Attaching an external staircase to a building like this does worry me. I mean, how do you think the planners will take to that?
Well, this is, an option they've got. They either accept it. If not, what's the shop going to do? If not, I'll possibly turn it into a house.
So really, you'd apply for permission to have this as a family house?
Yes. I mean, that's not my first intention, is to make a flat upstairs. I was going to make 2-bedroom, but the architect looked at it and he reckons it's far better to make it one. You can make one with a nice bathroom and ensuite, make it much better than making it 2-bedroom. And he said that'd be far more value. So
let's talk about your budget. If it all goes to plan and you do get permission to have a flat above and the shop downstairs, what sort of budget are you looking at to do the work?
I reckon the flat's going to cost 20,000.
Is that all?
Yes, up there, because it's not that big. And the staircase is going to cost probably 1,500, and the rest is all just cosmetic, really. It's all got to just boarded and do that. So far, we've got £20,000 to do the upstairs. How much to do down here? Well, it depends what we do to it. I mean, if I did the whole thing, I think you're probably £60,000. And how long do you think a project like this is going to take you? It's either 6 months or 12 months. Right, so half a year or a whole year. Is that all dependent on planning permission? All planning and what they allow me to do. Really, really good luck with this, and I hope you get your plan A and you get that planning permission to have a flat and a shop downstairs. Yeah, it'll be really exciting seeing what sort of business it is here. Yeah. Ian, well done. Thank you very much. Well, Ian has been property developing for several decades now and has a wealth of knowledge and experience. But has he taken on more than he can chew with this listed building? Will he really be able to get planning permission for a flat and that external staircase? Or even a house, as he suggested? Hopefully it's not going to be too tricky. You can find out how Ian gets on later in the programme.
Once described as the Silicon Valley of the East Midlands, Beeston has a lot going for it. With thriving local industry, a nearby university and good commuter links, it remains one of the most highly regarded suburbs of Nottingham. And in this area, tracking down an auction property is Tommy.
I'm less than 4 miles from the city centre. I'm in a suburban cul-de-sac and it's beautifully peaceful and quiet. I'm here to look at a 3-bedroom semi-detached house which was guided at £175,000. And this is it. Well, I'm sure there's a house in there somewhere. Why don't we go in and take a look? Whoa, this floor's got serious problems, this has. It's very near collapse in parts. Walk on these things because it's a bit dangerous. To fix this, you have to take the whole lot out and renew it. Lots of moolah. I'm walking around this property with caution. This floor, can see someone's gone through it over there. Look at that floor, completely gone. Right, one thing's for certain, we know the floor is completely mullered. That has to come out and be completely replaced, and that's going to be quite an expense. It's not a bad little house, really, so far, what I've seen. Except I think you'd have to learn to fly if you didn't fix the floor. You're flying without wings. Nice sized room, second reception room. Floor seems to be not so bad. Seems to be all right, but I don't want to speak too soon. Wow, this is very, very dated. It's a small kitchen, but it could do if it was well planned. And this larder is probably not usable anymore, so that could be made into a downstairs toilet, which would be handy.
And being handy would come in handy, especially when it came to fixing the rotten floors, which continue on the stairs.
Oh, steps 1, 2, 3 and 4 are in trouble on the staircase. And what we got up here? There's the bathroom. 3-piece, it looks like a cast iron tub. Second bedroom, master bedroom, and the box room. Pretty much a standard formula, but it hasn't been touched 30, 40 years, so really this is about getting it back to the bare essentials and starting again.
Giving yourself a blank canvas so you can actually see what you're dealing with seems like the order of the day inside, and it's a very similar story outside.
More growth. A fairly new set of double doors to get you into this space. Look at this growth. This has all got to come out. I think I need to have a look down there. There's a pathway going down there. That should take us to the French doors. And let's see what we got up here. These are the French doors in the second reception room. But straight away I've seen a problem. This is what we call spalling, and what that means is water gets behind the face of the brick, freezes, and then separates the skin from the rest of the brick. And then that leaves this to be very soft and crumbly. So you have to cut them out and replace them. And these are imperial bricks, the size, so you'd probably have to use second-hand ones. But they're an easy brick to find because they're called common flattens. But all this elevation here would have to be done. Other than that, with that gone, you could extend this quite a way.
Crumbling floors and walls, extension potential from all angles. I think we need the wisdom of an expert. We've invited along a local estate agent to see what he makes of the property.
Naturally, this would lend itself to a family looking to make roots in the area. On the other hand, the proximity to the university in the town centre would also make a great proposition as a house of multiple occupation.
Interesting. What extra hoops would a prospective buyer have to jump through to turn this into an HMO?
In terms of what you would need to do to obtain a HMO licence, extra fire safety has to take precedent. There's also a higher focus on the amount of bathrooms. I would anticipate that this would significantly increase the refurbishment budget. However, you would also see a great rental income at the end of the refurbishment.
Does he think extending would be worthwhile?
An extension would definitely be required in order to maximise the rental income. I would advise a loft conversion as well as a significant single-storey extension to the rear of the property.
So if this house was turned into an HMO, what rental and sales figures does he think it could achieve?
In terms of a room-by-room basis, we would anticipate that this property would rent at £140 per week, inclusive of bills. In terms of a three-bedroom HMO, I would anticipate this property would achieve a sales price within the region of £375,000. If the owner was to maximise the layout and extend further, as a six-bedroom HMO ready for an investor, I would anticipate this property would achieve around £425,000.
What about if it were kept as a family home?
As a residential family home, I would anticipate a sales price within the region of £375,000. If we was to go down the residential letting route, I would anticipate a rental price within the region of £1,400 to £1,500 per calendar month.
With a healthy budget and lots of hard work, this could be turned into a lovely family home. So let's see who was up for it when it went under the hammer.
This lot was part of a remote auction with bids taking place online. And the successful bidder who snagged the lot for £259,500 was up-and-coming property tycoon Manjeet.
First of all, Manjeet, can I congratulate you very much on your acquisition?
Thank you.
There's a clue, I think, that you would understand why we're having this chat up here on the first floor rather than on the ground floor. Yeah. Without looking at the feet, you know.
There's a few holes there.
Yeah. So anyway, at least you was aware of it.
I was able to see the house before I went to auction a couple of times. So I knew I even brought a builder with me to see and just to get an idea of what the costs and, you know, refurbishment would be or the additional costs.
Did you enjoy your experience at the auction?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. I didn't enjoy the price I paid for it, but I definitely enjoyed the experience, yeah.
Well, the guide price was £175,000.
Yes.
And what did you pay?
£259,500. There were two reasons I actually felt I paid around £25,000 to £30,000 too much for the property. You've got the University Boulevard, like 8 minutes away, but also there's new legislation coming out in this borough at the moment. Things like HMOs, student properties, you have to go through planning, whereas at the moment, up to 6 beds, as long as you've got the HMO licence and building regs, then it's fine. But
is that your intention to make this into a HMO?
Yeah, I'm going to make it into a 6-bed HMO. That's what I did to the one last year, which got, rented out off plan.
All right. Well, I suspect your background wasn't building, but maybe I'm wrong.
I've spent 26 years in investment banking.
You're an investment banker?
Yeah. And probably why I'm doing this, I've always had that. I think it's been inherent almost in my DNA, being visionary. I come from, that kind of background. My father was in the quilting business and designing quilt. My mother was a machinist and she would design clothes. So it's kind of there.
It's creative.
Yeah. I just thought, I would like to invest in something and in a financial instrument or something that gives you a better return, because there's not many other than the stock market, which is high risk. So I thought I would give, a property in Nottingham, which, although it's not where I live, but here I go.
Although Manjeet isn't from the area, he is very familiar and fond of it, as he spent his childhood summers here. With a budget of 70 to 75,000, Manjeet plans to completely strip out the house and garden, floors, walls and all. He'll reconfigure the space and add a 6-metre extension to the rear to create a total of 6 bedrooms for his HMO. This will be Manjeet's second go at this type of project, as he completed a similar build last year. And since he's working with the same team, he's confident that they can pull this one off no problem, following all the necessary HMO requirements. Manjeet has an immovable timescale of 8 months, as he's committed to having the accommodation ready for the coming academic year.
This, when it's done, like the previous one I did, it will achieve £125 per student per room, excluding bills. For 6 bedrooms, that's £39,000. So you miss out for 1 or 2 months, that's £39,000 in revenue you've missed out on. So it's critical that I meet the deadline, and then I know it's ready for next year's student intake.
Well, I wish you a lot of luck in this project. I don't think you're going to need it, because I think you've already got it well in hand. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Out of the darkness. Well, that was a really interesting conversation I had with Manjeet. He's done his research, he knows what he wants to produce, and he's got a generous budget and a decent, although it's a fixed time scale, with which to complete all the works. The question is, will he be able to do it all in time? You can find out later in the show.
Coming up in East London, I see a flat where I'm grateful for small mercies.
That is a real bonus, strange enough. One of my favourite things about the flat.
And back in Nottingham, is it time to go on to bigger things?
Let's see towards the end of the year what opportunities are out there.
Back now to Kent and Sevenoaks, and an auction lot that Lucy saw in 2014. And this former butcher's shop was well past its prime.
So inside, well, you've still got the old serving counters where you'd buy your Sunday joint. It's very narrow in here, but you can feel the history in here. In fact, one of the walls allegedly formed part of the old Sevenoaks jail. So not surprisingly, this building is Grade 2 listed. And on top of that, well, it's in a conservation area too.
Yes, this building was in an area known as the Shambles, and there were strict rules and guidelines that needed to be followed for any work that was carried out. But with 3 floors of this rambling building filled with storage areas and only ladders to get you up and down, it was clear to make this into anything viable, a lot of work was going to be needed and a lot of changes, and that would need approval every step of the way. But the man who felt, with over 25 properties under his belt, that he could make the most of this building with bags of character but potentially full of pitfalls was local man Ian, who bought it at auction for $260,000.
So now you've gone and bought this old butcher's that was previously a jail.
Yes.
That's in a conservation area.
Yeah.
In the heart of the high street.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do with it?
Well, make it a nice flat upstairs, which I'd like to do, which I think we should get away with it, but we'll just see if the council let us, and then let the shop out.
And Ian thought £60,000 and perhaps a year could see this old jailhouse rock. But over 7 years have passed, and at last the building has served its time, and it's ready to be released back into the world.
Let's go fishing for a dream. Let's find some place new.
And it's not just plaice or cod, mackerel, prawns. A whole array is now on offer in the new fish shop, with preparation areas and storage at the back and below. And if we go round the side and through the door, there's now a staircase that leads up to the one-bedroom flat where we find Ian's daughter, Sarah.
So this is the first floor, and it used to be just a storage area for the old butchers. We have created an entrance into the flat, and you've got some stairs that bring you up to this first floor. This area here, we've put in a fully fitted kitchen with a nice breakfast bar area with seats. And then just behind us here, we've put in a bathroom with a shower.
And at the other end of this floor is where you'll find the well-proportioned bedroom. And then it's up another new set of stairs to the top floor.
So we're now on the very top floor of the building. Again, this used to be a storage area, and it's just created an open space living area. We put in a window. There wasn't a window up here, and we found some old photos from back in the 1900s, and there was originally a window back there. So we went for planning application, and because we could prove that there was a window previously, they let us put a window back in up here, so you can overlook out onto the high street.
Well, that's great that the history of the building helped them here, because in all other aspects, it's rather hindered progress.
It took quite a long time to get planning permission, because the conservation area, plus Grade 2 listed, it was just quite a lot of problems. The architect was doing things, and then we had to change them and talk to the conservation area. Then they had to come and look at things before they'd actually agree to it.
Yes, this ping-pong between conservation, planning and listed buildings people meant every step took time. They even needed to get approval for the colour the shop was painted. Added to that, the building ended up needing a new roof, plus all the conservation work, and you start to see why a one-year project turned into 7. So how has this father and daughter coped with working on such a long and stressful project together?
I think actually I was a bit concerned at first. Dad's quite a tough businessman, and I'm a bit softer, but I think actually we complement each other. A bit good cop, bad cop. I do most of the sort of organisation paperwork. Dad has absolutely no idea how to send emails, do anything online, and anything that's too much grief that he doesn't want to deal with and he'd rather go and golf, he passes over to me.
Yes, Ian loves his golf and plays 6 days a week, and he likes to drive a hard bargain. But what did this whole project end up costing him?
$85,000. We spent $25,000 on the shop and the cellar, and $50,000 here, and the roof was $7,000.
$85,000 on top of Ian's original £260,000 purchase price means the shop and the one-bedroom flat have come in at $345,000. So, money well spent? What does the agent that saw it all those years ago think of it now?
Well, since I saw the property last 7 years ago, it's changed dramatically, of course. It was a wreck. It was uninhabitable, but wow, it looks pretty good. I think the finish is impeccable. I think the shop and the flat, superb.
Currently, Ian and Sarah are looking for both the flat and shop to generate a rental revenue, but have they increased the value of their £345,000 asset?
If the building as a whole was to come to market, depending on the yield that any investor might expect, it could be somewhere between £350,000 right up to probably £425,000 for the freehold.
So not a huge uplift in the resale value, but this is all about the building's rental potential.
I would anticipate the shop renting for between £12,000 and perhaps £15,000 per annum, and the flat above I would anticipate renting out on a monthly basis for £1,100 per calendar month.
They're on the low side. I mean, I get 18,000 for the shop now, and we were actually letting the flat for $11,950 a month.
Which means a total yearly rental income just above £32,000, and that equates to a yield above 9%. So now Ian's back in the clubhouse and able to reflect on the rounds and rounds of meetings to get things approved. Is he pleased he took on such a testing project?
Oh yes, I'm pleased. It's going quite well.
Now you look back on everything you've done.
Oh yes, now yes.
Absolutely. At the time, I think he might have had his regrets, but now definitely very pleased with the final result.
Yes.
I'm in bustling East London, in Dalston, situated in the borough of Hackney. So, what's on offer today?
Well, the flat I'm here to see is on this busy main road by this mini roundabout, so not ideal. However, when it comes to transport links, brilliant. 3 train stations within easy access and in just one type of transport. The flat itself is a lower ground floor, £210,000 plus was the guide place. Let's have a look. So as I said, it's a lower ground floor flat, so we're going to expect dark, dingy and damp. OK, let's hope we are wrong. Little entrance area there with some very strange electrics. Front living room here. Actually, nice big window there, so that room doesn't seem too bad, although definitely signs of damp on some of the walls there. Through into your one bedroom, and this is like where it starts to get a little bit claustrophobic. That is your only window there, which means that this room is incredibly dark and, yes, dingy and, yes, damp. So we've got the 3 things we hope we wouldn't find. That's something which is going to have to be sorted out. I mean, realistically, lower ground floor flats, it is the first thing that you are going to be concerned about. You're obviously below the ground level. If anything goes wrong with the damp proofing out there, over the years even, you know, you are going to have all sorts of problems. So that is something you're going to need to sort out, and it might actually be quite expensive to actually fix. So something to factor in to your budget for getting this place sorted out. Let's carry on. So this is the kitchen, and I guess it makes the most of what it has, which is virtually no space whatsoever. This doesn't bother me so much. It's sort of in proportion with the rest of the flat, but that does. I mean, it's the bathroom, it's access through the kitchen, and I don't see any way of changing it around. Again, very dark, relatively small. Maybe my expectations were set too high. It is, at the end of the day, just a 1-bedroomed, lower ground floor flat. So what did I expect? I don't know. You need to be creative with this. It's going to all be about the internal decor that you choose, what you put in here to try and brighten things up. Internal layout. Not only do you not own the freehold of this place, so you're going to have to get the freeholder's approval if you want to do any works, but I just don't know what else you could do. I mean, my usual thing would be knock everything down, take everything out, make it one big open space. But in this case, if you did that, all the other building would actually collapse, which would be a bad thing, so don't do that. No. But, you know, it is what it is.
There certainly isn't much wiggle room with this flat, but the reception room did seem to be a decent size. Let's go have another look.
Well, back in the front living room, and good news, you've got that big window, as I said, and it is double glazed, so it's at least stopping some of the noise from the road, which is good news. However, down here, more examples, in fact, possibly even worse examples of damp. So it seems like the whole of that wall especially is suffering. Also, I'm not sure about the installation of the boiler. Looks a little bit hodgepodge to me. Work to be done, but we've already established that.
Where do we go from here?
Well, where you go first is to get the boiler checked by a gas-safe professional to see if it needs replacing. And the electrics could definitely do with a once-over from an expert too.
So, back in the little entrance area by the front door, where there is that complete spaghetti of electrics. I actually think this is the electric supply for the whole building. It's not ideal, really, is it? The first thing you see when you come in. But what is good news is this. Look at that, bit of a surprise. A storage sort of area, which I think probably goes underneath the front garden, maybe even stretching out into the road. It's obviously even more damp than the rest of the flat, but a really useful space to store your bike, maybe just a few bits and pieces, because the flat does not have a lot of storage. So that is a real bonus, strange enough. One of my favourite things about the flat. Grateful for small mercies, eh?
There's no private garden space, only the shared access at the front of the property, where you'll also see some double yellow lines. So parking won't be the easiest or the flat the quietest, as it's on a very busy road. But we are in London after all. To get another opinion, we've asked along a local property expert to find out what he would suggest doing with the flat.
Initially, when we come into the flat, you feel that there's a lot of work to be done, and I think that is true, but not quite as much perhaps as on first impressions, but certainly some money needs to be spent here, and I do think particularly on the electrics and on the sanitary areas, the kitchen and the bathroom, probably some significant money needs to be spent.
The agent thinks it would be a great idea to rearrange the layout to obtain a better location for the bathroom, although it might not be worth the money you would need to spend. Speaking of money on completion, what could the potential returns be on this flat?
Once renovated, I believe this flat could sell for somewhere in the region of £325,000 and rent for somewhere in the region of £1,300 per month.
So it's well located, but a few issues with damp, and I'm not sure what you could do to relocate that bathroom, which really isn't ideal where it is. Still, an interesting one. Let's see who agreed when it went under the hammer.
This lot was part of a remote auction, with bids taking place online.
Sold.
The successful bid of £270,000 was made by Joel, who is the CEO of a property planning consultancy and has been in the property industry for the past 8 years. So he has plenty of experience. Let's find out his plans for this little flat.
Joel, lovely to meet you.
Likewise.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me why you wanted to buy this little flat.
What I look at flats is where we can maximize value. So we look at areas and we look if it's dump yards. If both tick the boxes, then brilliant.
What was the second one?
If it looks like a dump yard. It's like when it looks like this.
Oh, right. A dump yard. So you look for dump yards in good locations.
Exactly, because you can just upgrade the property and the value just shoots up.
So tell me then how you're going to transform this place.
This one doesn't have much potential in changing layouts because, as you can see, it's only 2 rooms, kitchen, bathroom. You can't move around. It's in a basement, so you can't move the bathroom, you can't move the kitchen because plumbing is already set in. Main wall, everything's main walls.
Yeah.
It's going to be more a modern decor, wallpapers, removing the chimneys, ripping out the whole kitchen, ripping out the whole bathroom, everything from A to Z, new cables hanging around, going in. Light fixtures, very low, will have to be up. To make this place to feel nice, new flooring, of course, treat all the damp around it, all the radiators changed. Just a freshen look. You go with tiny things. Let's say there's no bell on the door, right? There's no way how to pick up. You have to go out to look. If you put a intercom system, a few £100, again, it changes the experience of the person moving into this flat.
Wow, really interesting. Tell me more about you then. Is this what you do?
No, I've got other companies. This is more like my hobby, side hustle, where I enjoy it. I used to be...
Side hustle. So what's the budget for what you're going to do?
We are budgeting not more than £20,000.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll get it for 15.
So what's the sort of timescale on this?
We're looking about 4 to 5 weeks, roughly.
Wow.
It shouldn't be longer, hopefully. But it all depends on the outside company dealing with the damp. So we are a bit dependent on other people.
Well, Joel may need to depend on people to get the job done, but he seems to know what he's talking about. Joel plans to bring in a company to deal with the damp issues in the flat and is considering boarding up the storage cupboard, as he reckons it may cost too much to get it back into a good condition. He has also decided he'll be renting the flat out once the work is finished. So, although you say this is a side hustle, you obviously enjoy it.
Love it.
And tell me a bit more about you. How did you end up doing this, and what are your passions outside doing property?
Being a Orthodox Jew, we've got quite a lot of passion in the religion, so this takes up most of my time. I've got a family with kids, and properties is my passion. Since I came to London, I love properties. I think there's so much potential. Transformation is my passion, let's call it this way. Is it transforming a property? Is it transforming a person? It's transforming anything.
Well, listen, we look forward to seeing how you transform this place.
Me too.
And, yeah, we'll find out later in the show. So thank you very much. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Well, Joel certainly seems to know his stuff and has some very interesting ideas for transforming this flat. How will he get on? You can find out later in the show.
Well, weeks and months have passed. Earlier we found out about one of our properties, but what about the other two?
Has it all gone swimmingly, or have the buyers entered choppy waters? Let's find out.
Time to head back to Beeston in Nottingham, where we saw this 3-bed semi that went to auction with a guide price of £175,000. And straight away there was an issue that almost had Tommy floored.
Whoa, this floor's got serious problems, this has. It's very near collapsing part. Walk on these things because it's a bit dangerous. To fix this, you have to take the whole lot out and renew it.
The whole of the downstairs seemed rotten, and it didn't stop there.
Oh. Steps 1, 2, 3 and 4 are in trouble on the staircase.
The outside wasn't in much better condition, being completely overgrown. This house needed a complete overhaul. Up for the challenge, paying £259,500 at auction, was Manjeet, an investment banker from London. This was to be his second development project in this area, and he had specific plans for this one.
I'm going to make it into a 6-bed HMO. That's what I did to the one last year, which got, rented out off-plan.
With a budget of £70,000 to £75,000, Manjeet planned to do a 6-metre extension to create communal areas and 6 bedrooms. He set himself a strict 8-month timescale in order to be ready for the new intake of students. Well, 9 months later, we're back to see how he's got on. Straight away, outside, that jungle has been completely cleared and useful off-street parking has been created. Inside, those rotten floors are, thankfully, a thing of the past. The front room is now a bedroom with an ensuite. rear reception room and dated kitchen is now a large communal area. With plenty of storage and prep areas for the residents. A 6-metre extension was added to accommodate 2 further bedrooms and a shower room. And those squeaky stairs have been replaced with a brand new staircase. With the upstairs 3 bedrooms getting an identical makeover. And the family bathroom transformed into a modern shower room.
A lot of the points that HMOs require are some simple things like having signs. They need to have interlinked smoke alarms. They need to have fire doors and fire door strips between them. There's a lot more in terms of not just building regs, but the safety of the tenant regs.
Manjeet had a team of local builders he's used before to do the work. So what was his involvement?
My role more was project managing, hands-on in terms of the design, the layout, but the overall responsibility was with the contractor. Although I was dealing with the HMO and the building regs myself personally.
The plan was to get this ready for the student market in time for the new term. Is that still his intention?
It's let on a year AST to a group of 6 students later this year. And up until that time, the next few months, it's let on a room-only basis to professionals.
Originally, Manjeet had planned on spending between 70 and 75,000 on this property, but has he managed to do all this within that budget?
There were some unknowns in terms of the rear garden, the front, and internally the floor. There was some wood rot. So having replaced all those items, I've ended up now spending £90,000.
£90,000 on top of his purchase price of £259,500 means Manjeet has spent a total of £349,500. We asked back the local estate agent who saw it last time to get his view on the finished article.
The changes that have been made have been fantastic, together with the structural changes with the extension, along with the total reconfiguration and refurbishment of the property inside. I think the owner's made some fantastic changes and certainly added value to the property in the process. Fantastic addition with the off-street parking. To be frank, I couldn't see how it could ever have been achieved looking at the jungle when I first visited the property, but that's definitely going to be a big bonus for students.
Manjeet has spent a total of £349,500, but could this be a good investment if he were to sell?
I'd anticipate this property would sell within the region of £450,000 to £475,000.
To be honest, that kind of 460, 470 was a figure that was in my mind, my prediction forecast. But I had, obviously, because it was an auction purchase, so I was just trying to remortgage the property, and I had a surveyor mortgage it earlier this week, and he put the figure at 520, which was 70,000, 80,000 more than what I'd even expected.
So he's been given an even more optimistic independent valuation. But even going by our agent's top valuation of $475,000, that would mean a very healthy pre-tax profit of around $125,000. Will the rental figures be just as encouraging?
So the double rooms we would anticipate would rent in the region of £125 per week. With the ensuite rooms having that slightly higher demand, we'd anticipate they would rent in the region of £140 per week, giving a total monthly per calendar month figure of around £3,300.
Yep, that's absolutely on the button. That's exactly the figures that I will be achieving.
That total monthly figure of £3,300 per calendar month could give Manjeet an impressive 11% yield. It's been a pretty big renovation for this HMO, and after all that, how does Manjeet feel?
I think I just need to take some time off. I'm quite mentally and physically tired and drained, and I'm just going to enjoy the spring and summer, maybe play a bit of golf, spend some time at home, and let's see towards the end of the year what opportunities are out there.
It's time to head back to Hackney and this lower ground floor flat where I didn't have the highest expectations.
It's a lower ground floor flat, so we're going to expect dark, dingy and damp. OK, let's hope we are wrong.
But it turns out my suspicions were correct.
That is your only window there, which means that this room is incredibly dark and, yes, dingy and, yes, damp. So we've got the three things we hoped we wouldn't find.
But that didn't put off the successful bidder Joel, who paid £270,000 for the lot. With plenty of experience in property, he knew exactly what he was going to do with it.
It's going to be more a modern decor, wallpapers, removing the chimneys, ripping out the whole kitchen, ripping out the whole bathroom, everything from A to Z.
Joel hoped to complete the project in 4 to 5 weeks with a budget of 15 to 20,000. So has everything gone to plan? We're back 3 months later to find out. Outside has been totally transformed into a cleaner, brighter space. The entrance area is now much more welcoming. With no damp in sight, the new living room looks amazing, complete with stunning new furnishings. The old, dark, dingy bedroom is no more, and Joel has installed a bigger window, flooding the room with lots of light. The kitchen looks slick, and by taking some space from the bedroom, Joel has managed to fit in a table and chairs. He's also lowered the base level of the floor of the flat, creating more headroom, which makes it feel brighter and more spacious.
The starting off point is always the height, where if it's a low ceiling, you feel cramped. We spent a lot of money to bring down the height. As well, there was some damp issues where we sorted out. This was well costly. Taking away chimneys gives you ample space. It makes it look so much bigger, so much nicer. And then the decor, as you can see, the coloring, the lighting, the LED lights, everything together brings it out to a new high-class standard flat.
Everything does look great and the decor is stunning. What other work has been carried out in the flat?
New flooring, new painting, whole decorating, new kitchen, new bathroom, everything new from fresh. The new windows. We made bigger the windows in the bedroom. Basically, we did a full refurb. And one main part as well, we put place in the kitchen to be able to sit and eat there. Because I feel like people didn't want to move around their food coming into a dining area to eat. We made it specially there.
Joel decided to furnish the flat as it helps people to visualise living there rather than seeing a small empty room. And it's safe to say it does the trick as it looks like a lovely place to live. Something that wasn't so lovely was the damp throughout the flat. Was that a huge issue to fix?
Funnily enough, the damp wasn't such a big issue. It was just the pointing was done years ago, 56 years ago, and it got eaten up with the time. So went out, redone the whole pointing, and then we actually concreted the whole floor. So we brought up the membrane, concreted the whole floor, and it's gone.
Joel decided not to renovate the storage area due to the cost it would have incurred. Instead, he simply cleaned it up and installed a light. But one noticeably big difference is the outside space to the front of the flat.
The entrance it's fairly simple. Because it was an old building, the entrance looked very shabby. By painting over the entrance floor, putting 2 lights on the front, painting over the wall, it made it so much nicer, so much more pleasant. Sometimes you put in small money and it makes such a big difference to a flat.
As Joel runs his own property planning consultancy, they manage the project, but he did outsource all the work. With such a big difference being made to this flat, was Joel able to stick to his budget of 15 to 20,000?
We were at the budget at around 20k. However, because we decided to lower down the whole flat, this is a very costly project, cost us another 7.5 grand to lower everything down. We're around about 25, 26k.
Wow, considering the lowering of the floor was not initially budgeted for, Joel has done a great job not to completely blow the budget. That £26,000 spend on top of a £270,000 purchase price means that Joel has £296,000 invested into this flat. Is it money well spent? What does the agent that saw it previously think?
I think they've done an excellent job. They've really brightened up the place, which was a main issue to begin with. I can see that they've enlarged the window in the bedroom, which I thought was a major problem initially, so they've fixed that, which is good as well. I think it's a real positive that they've dressed the place, and they've dressed the place well in a modern finish, particularly in the kitchen. The kitchen isn't a big room, but they've managed to squeeze in a little table and chairs there, which I think makes a big difference to people when they're looking at the property and envisaging how they will live in it themselves.
So what could this newly renovated flat achieve on the rental market?
In terms of rentals, I believe you could achieve somewhere in the region of £1,500 per month.
That's spot on. Actually, £1,500 a month is spot on.
Joel is happy with that yield of around 6%, but what about the sales figure?
If we were going to sell this flat, I believe we could achieve somewhere in the region of £350,000.
I think it's quite in the low end. You don't get any flats in this area less than 420. There's one up the road, an old flat, 1 bedroom for 420. I think in this kind, I would reckon 425.
That potential profit of £54,000 clearly hasn't swayed Joel's plans for the property. He'll definitely be renting it out. So will Joel continue to take on more projects?
So yes, we are actually in the middle of doing more of those. And in the future, I look forward to doing like this, such transformation. It just changes my day. I enjoy it.
So that's how the 3 stories on today's show worked out. But for more from the unpredictable world of property, join us next time here on Homes Under the Hammer.
And if you can't wait that long, you can watch more straight away on BBC iPlayer. Just press that red button.